And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Overwatch League. That's right, it's Overwatch time. We're going to go again. My name's Mitch Leslie here with Matthew Morello, hopefully coming through both your ear holes today. And it's just as well, because we've got 3 big games, Matt. How's the quarantine life treating you, bruh?
It's going all right. It's not that bad. I mean,
the World Quest's just popping off, man?
Dude, I'm popping off daily. Don't even get me started on... I feel like most of my days are spent debating things with Sideshow that we actually agree on, but we just come up with other things to argue about. Or just playing some WoW or Overwatch. But otherwise, it's not that bad. I mean...
we'll come back to that. Yeah. Actually, we'll come back to it right now. Because when you guys went head-to-head the other day and you talked about who you thought the top team in the league was, the Paris Eternal weren't really in that conversation so much. A few people were like, why aren't they being talked about? Today, they're up in our first game. It's going to be Paris versus the Houston Outlaws. And it's a rematch. Houston, they don't have many wins this season. One of them came from Paris Eternal back in, what was that, week 5 now at the homestand.
The weeks just blur together. As soon as Bren said that the Paris Eternal were going to be the best team in the league, I jumped off the Paris bandwagon. I got a little scared to get on board at that point.
That's the Shanghai effect as well. I think that's what happened when he did that to us last year. Hey, let's have a look at Houston's starting lineup, Matt. We'll continue talking about this team because, like I said, a bit of a rough start to the season. You know, we wondered how they'd sort of integrate all their pieces. Blase, Dante, Mumameko, Raucus, and Jexa. Jexa looked really good straight off the bat, Matt, and it looked like they were struggling to really get Meko involved in a lot of the action as a Diva player.
Defiant really good. He's a Lucio picking out final blows, but on a team that's not really winning a lot of fights. I mean, he does look better than what they've had in the past, I think, on the roll. I think you just need to see them play a lot like we did in that last homestand match. I believe it was in Washington, D.C. They end up getting a big win there. We need to see them build on that. Take what they've done there. You know, they've had some weeks now to try out some different things with some of the metas coming up where kind of you predict what's going to happen with hero pools. And I think Houston can put a much better showing in the future.
So let's talk about their opponents then, the Paris Eternal. And you know them and you love them. Soon, Nico, Ben Best, Hanvin, FD God, but Gray's in the starting lineup. And Gray will remain in the starting lineup here as flex support, Matt. Well, because obviously recently, and we all know this, and many of us have seen this, but Hip has announced his retirement from competitive Overwatch.
Yeah, and it's a blow to the Paris Eternal, right? I mean, Hip was in the lineup pretty consistently for them. There was no real reason for them to sub him out in favor of Gray, although Gray is a good player. And you know, Hip just seems like didn't really want to continue playing for the Paris Eternal, just playing anymore. So he steps aside, retires, and now it's Gray's shot at starting.
And we'll see our map set here, and you know, Gray, I mean, I had to drag him to the gym back when we were going together, but you don't need to drag him in the game. He's been really wanting a shot at this starting roster. Now he gets it. Maybe it feels bittersweet because it wasn't necessarily because he, you know, maybe won the fight for his role. It was obviously because his predecessor was, you know, moving on. But we start with Nepal, we go to Paris, Dorado, Hollywood, Lijiang if we need them, and then Busan and Ilios will be tacked on as other control maps.
So if he plays poorly, we can blame it on the fact that once upon a time you dragged him to the gym.
No, it wasn't even once upon a time. It's just that if he always said he wanted to go, but I really had to get him to go. And we didn't end up going off, and I had to reach out to him like, go, get up, let's go to the gym, yada, yada. We had the same trainer for a while.
Now I know more about Gray than I probably would have wanted to know, but that's okay.
No, well, I mean, bro, I mean, this guy goes way back as well, has a long sort of history in Overwatch. I could tell you stories, but he's always well behaved. There's that's for sure. He doesn't type anything in match chat, Matt. That's what really sets behavioral standards in the Overwatch League these days. But we are going to be jumping straight here into Nepal to start these off, and the players are hoping that they're not typing anything.
They're just saying hello today. They're just saying hello.
Jexa has a chat cleaner. It basically just like fills up the chat. You know, so he's very much the on top of his team, trying to keep everyone well behaved.
This is interesting. So Paris, we'll see what they decide to run out with eventually, but right now it looks like Sigma Rhine, which is an odd type of composition, but looks like we do have a pause here at the beginning, so we'll get an idea of what's going on there. It looks like
oh my god,
Jexa
is at home. He's not even on stage, and he's still having tech issues, right? We can't blame like the stage setup or anything anymore.
But we can talk about what they were going to do. So Paris Eternal looks like they're going to be running some type of double shield with Sigma Rhine. with a Moira Lucio, with a Doom. I expect Soon to switch off of the Sim. I mean, you could play Sim on this point, but usually the Sim
TPing his team out.
Yeah, TP the team out. Same thing for Dante on the other side. He is going to be playing the Symmetra as well at the start, TP them out. They are not playing Double Shield, though. They're going to be playing Rhine Diva, Meko on the Diva. And then what does Dante play? Can you play Torbjorn
Everything,
into this?
to be honest.
What do you decide to play, I think, here is the question. It seems like we may be getting it seems like they are ready, so we should be able to get back in.
Calling for a lobby reset. Bro, in your dreams, fam. We're just going to go in. What's the problem? I mean, we could see Sim. We actually did see a little bit of Sim on Nepal sort of overnight. And with Reinhardt, you can get that protection you need before you charge up.
Sim against the double shield with the Sigma Rhine wouldn't be that bad. You could charge it up quite easily, but they switched to the Reaper Sigma soon. He'll go over to Reaper as well.
All right, Nico's already in there like swimwear. Meko has to step back, and Muma's taking a ton of damage. Good trades early, but the Eternal have already lost soon. Now this is when Blase probably feels a little bit more comfortable. Sigma, if he doesn't have that accretion available, doesn't do much to flankers. Blase knows he can get up in his face, bully the Sigma, get through the shield, and there wasn't much to stop it from doing so. Now we'll see the teams move over to the point here and get that first cap.
Yeah, I would love to know the idea behind the Sigma versus Diva. Diva has all the mobility, right? Sigma doesn't really have much of that. The accretion, you could use that to try and stop some of the just the flankers coming in, whether it be the Doom or the Reaper, but it seems like an odd pick. Diva can, harass those flankers and also deny some of the damage they go with Defense Matrix as well.
Matt, now we can see ultimates winner. The Muma's got the shatter. That's a big one. Gets 3 early on. Hardmin's knocked to the ground, and FD God also was felled. With a Coalescence to follow up, there's hardly any chance for Paris to break back into this fight. You think they commit, though, and they do. They lost Nico, still going to go for the sound barrier regardless. Hardmin's able to pick up Blase, and that's a big shatter. They get Dante down, but because of the sound barrier, he's able to sustain that damage. Jex is doing Jexa things right now. He's picked up 2 kills, a third for him. Loves to play aggressive, sniping all those kills away, but they're secured.
Yeah, the sound barrier from Jexa saves the day there, right? A few players get knocked down by the shatter that comes down from Benbest. Jexa connects with all of those players who get shattered with the sound barrier, and they're able to hold on to the fight. Mumu with another another Earth Shatter. We'll see how he decides to use it here. Is Dante playing close on the high ground, also with a Death Blossom.
Dante hoping that he gets pushed into. He can just walk away pretty safely. Muma in the Gravitic Flux is knocked to the ground. It was actually Blase that went down. Then when Muma has nowhere to go, he tries to charge him at a wall, and that's not going to get him out of danger. Paris can move in now and save a lot of these ultimates. Hanbin, a huge Gravitic Flux to set up that 2-man kill. That means that soon Nico could sit on these ults. Gray can have a Coalescence next fight too.
It's 1 with the Gravitic Flux, but it's really 2. The kill on Muma comes out of that. Looks like Hanbin's pushed up a little bit. The accretion from Sigma makes the Death Blossom really insignificant, right? You can just knock the Reaper right out of that
Reaper
ultimate.
can't really dodge it, right?
Yeah, it'll be Raucus who opens up things with a Coalescence, and that is a massive Death Blossom there. That is a shatter from Muma that connects with all of those players, and then Dante with the spin to win while they're on the ground.
Sit down! Love to see it! And with the Earth Shatter as well, Matt. I mean, you talked about there being a chance to interrupt, but no, there was no opportunity because Hanbin was knocked to the ground by a fatty shatty from Muma.
It's an enormous shatter there. They'll use a Coalescence of Paris Eternal to push down Muma and then get on the point.
Benbest set up with a shatter. Muma's down, so it could be a free one if he needs to stop Yusuf from pushing in. They need to capture the point though, so Benbest waiting for them to come to him. Very defensive Death Blossom from Soon, but because the Outlaws were already 1 foot in, they lose 3 to that.
Yeah, they needed to use the Death Blossom there to secure the point. As now, if you're Paris, what are you working with here? You have another Gravitic Flux coming online, Shatter, Sound Barrier. Meko with this self-destruct could clear some area out, and then Blase, expect him to go aggressive and then potentially use the Meteor Strike to exit.
45 and counting for the Paris Eternal. They have to hold point now. Already Blase's in. I mean, this is such a scary pick, this Doom Fist for him. Muma just gets left upon. Hanbin tries to hit the accretion, but the shield was in the way. Dante down to a Fire Strike, and I mean, what could have been a pretty nasty fight for the Paris Eternal, they've essentially already won, and with Raucus committing Coalescence.
But you're kind of okay with it if you're the Houston Outlaws, though, because you've reset everything pretty much for Paris outside of this Coalescence. You know that if you're Houston, what do? You switch over to Sombra, you can get a hack on this Moira. You have an opportunity then to use this sound barrier of your own and just run them down.
Sound barrier v Coalescence again. This time, they'll be on the other sides. No, the big ultimate's really close for the Paris Eternal, so this may be the riskiest fight. They're at risk of obviously dealing with Meko self-destruct. That's the sound barrier to start off the fight, so it has begun. Grey answers with a Coalescence, but they've already lost Nico early. Blaze's able to burn him down, and that healing over time from Coalescence just doesn't cut the mustard. Little charge there, mutual charge between the Reinhardts, but Muma has Shatter. You have to be careful if you Ben best and Grey gets caught. Muma's able to find it, indeed. Capture for Dante on the point, and he's lucky that he went to the point midway through the fight because Paris were at 99. Now, though, no chance for the Eternal to get back in and take control.
Yes, Dante just gets to the point and draws them back, draws some players down from the Paris Eternal, so that'll get a point win for the Houston Outlaws there, as the Sombra didn't really pay off in terms of like a hack or an EMP towards the end, just used it to obviously sneak by the other team, get on the point, force some players down from that high ground, force them to spread out.
Good start for Houston, and Matt, it's definitely being led by Blaze on that Doomfist. Dante also, they're having a good round. Some big Death Blossoms from both sides. Dante got like, what, 5, I would say? Definitely assisted Death Blossom, but that Shadow was a great setup.
I would say knocking them all down to the ground would definitely be assisting in the Death Blossom kills, yeah.
Yeah, more than just a little bit of encouragement.
You should be an analyst.
Oh, shut up. Here we go. Into Sanctum. It's Nico in the front line as well with Ben Best. Muma takes a ton of damage just from the pillars. I mean, it's easy to get those knockback kills, but Meko, he actually flanked around the side. No one really looked at him, and look, Meko's just sat here in this side room. That's ridiculous. Well, he just gets 2-3 easy kills.
That's the mobility of D.Va, and then off from the side, he can actually use that defense matrix, save Muma a little bit as the pressure comes through the front.
Oh, man.
You really haven't, outside of the gravitic fluxes, you haven't really seen the Sigma pay off for the Paris Eternal.
And it's being piloted by none other than Hanbin, who's looked ferocious in previous matches. It doesn't do much to answer the Doomfist if Accretion's not available. We kind of mentioned that beforehand, and Blaze just might be better in the pound-for-pound matchup on that hero right now. Around the corner he waits, another punch, looking for a kill. Didn't really have a specific target in mind, but he has to get out now. Coalescence has come through, looking like a Dragon Ball Z finale. And Nico eventually gets Muma. Tough for the Outlaws because they have to push out of a choke, and it's easier for Nico to line those up. Now Raucus gets behind the point, giving Nico a bit of a slurp down. Hanbin caught in the corner. Dante wants to chase him down. Kinetic Grasp for Hanbin. It's going to keep him alive a little longer. Meko tried to push forward and he overextended. But Blaze, how? He was up on the ledge. That's where he landed. Blaze chasing another kill. Nico at 2 health, but he gets the primary fire and somehow wins it out. And he can return to the fight. He's low on health, but he's getting shield for the damage he does. He just needs to do damage. And well, he didn't. Meko was able to shoot him down. A very rough first fight, and the Outlaws had control for so long.
And the Meteor Strike buys them some more time. Connects with 2, gets them about, what, probably an extra 15% or so on the point. So it ends up being pretty massive there for Blaze, as now we see another Sombra play here from the Outlaws.
Kinetic, Gravitic Flux.
It was hacked.
Hanbin got hacked midway through it. Cheeky to switch for Dante to Sombra, one of his signature heroes. Pays off big. However, Houston again need to fight their way through this choke, and, well, they suffer heavy casualties trying to do so. Paris' composition punishes this. Hyperspheres bouncing. Reapers reaping. Doomfists punching.
You just don't have enough damage with the Sombra in play. I think that's why we've seen a lot of teams go away from it, as look, you can get these big EMPs, but with the shielding and all of that, it's going to take a while to charge them up. And with the Houston Outlaws right now, you're lacking that damage from the Reaper. Not having the Reaper is a huge loss here.
Shatter for Muma. Maybe another assist. Oh, it's good. It is good. Grey charged against the wall. Blaze already had to find a kill him. These walls are punishing for both teams. And that's Sanctum for you, though, isn't it? It's so enclosed that heroes like Reinhardt, well, often it can be a little bit hard on the more open maps. He can get value with those charges.
But Muma's gotten, like, he's got to be close to, like, 10 shatters for the map at this point.
Would you like to know how many?
I would love to know.
So he has 8 Earth Shatter kills.
Right.
He has 11 stuns from Earth Shatter.
Yeah, so I was only 1 off. I'm almost as good as the stats tool.
Yeah, you should be an analyst.
I am.
Oh,
yeah, that would be my title. Yep.
That's awesome.
So now you have Now you have EMP bomb here if you're the Outlaws, right, to clear off the point. Like, you allow Paris to get on the point, and then you can come in with an EMP self-destruct. Could be pretty massive.
Best went a long way forward. Defense
There's
Matrix
EMP.
made it hard for his teammates to help, and yeah, 4 players hit with that EMP, but Blase drops on in here. Death Blossom at 10 from Soon. He wasn't hit with the EMP, able to dodge away from it. But the rest of the Eternal had to sit on those key ultimate abilities, and they're going to have one more chance to use them in one last fight, and it's going to be messy.
It's
Punch
not
to
going to
10
be a
from
good
Blase.
fight, though. I mean, look, FD
no!
God.
The purple drake, you got slapped down! 61%, that's all Paris got. I mean, now they're coming in drips and drabs. Losing FD God is so punishing. No, he didn't have barrier online, but still having the Lucio is so important. Nico down, and it's just individual picks now. The Outlaws are taking duels. They're using ultimates to keep control of this point. So far, so good. Gray gets rid of Jexa. Benbless is playing aggressively in the front row, but now Harpin steps up because he's got a bit more health to work with. FD God's able to find Muma. He returned to the fight real quick, and Dante's trying to get through the shield of Ben Best. So far, not so good. They've lost Muma as well. The Outlaws commit so aggressively to try and end the round here that they open the door for the Eternal. Now Nico's back. Gray there as well with the Biotic Orb, and the Paris Eternal in control. And Matt, just to use some key ultimates, they'll still have another EMP. Dante's getting them every other fight.
I mean, that's the thing. Even though the Outlaws lose the fight, Paris uses everything they have, and now they have to win a fight against EMP Sound Barrier and a Meteor Strike. It's going to be almost impossible.
EMP gets Soon. FD God, Ben Best all caught, and no shield for the Ryan means trouble for Paris. Gray gets taken down by Muma now, and with only 2 players left, the Paris Eternal don't have the numbers at all. Houston easily step up onto the point here. Another round that could have been close. Another round that could have been a chance for the Eternal, but it is going to be map 1 again going to the Houston Outlaws.
But, you know, on that second point, Mitch, if you allow Muma to walk in as Ryan, they may have had a Coalescence going at the time. I think it was actually Gray for Paris using the Coalescence, and he lands like a 3-player shatter, and you don't have to use any other ultimates to win. That's the luxury of then having an EMP and a Sound Barrier to throw into some of these fights.
He's getting these shatters against 2 shields. We talked last week, and we said, like, oh, you're lucky to get 1, you know, if you do, but there you have it. Map number 1. Really quickly as well, shout out to Matthew Farrow on his 13th birthday. His mum hit me up and asked him to shout him out. We're going to be back with round 2, just on the other side of this break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Groups. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Overwatch League. Map 1 is done. Nepal in the books. Another W for the Outlaws here, and they're looking to make the run back repeat against the Paris Eternal. After already defeating them once this season at homestand. Matt, it feels like everything's happening so fast in these rounds.
Yes.
There's a lot of ultimates being built up. Sombra's impact is definitely making it much harder. But the reality is, Paris Eternal playing double shield. They're using the Sigma, and they're not getting value out of it.
Yeah, it didn't really look great. And then at the end of some of these rounds, the Houston Outlaws, they go and they play a Sombra to just turn the sides, because they know they're 1 fight away, right? And then you just farm up a quick EMP from Dante. You use the EMP in combination with some other ultimates, and it's an easy fight win, and it results in a map win there, map number 1.
It feels like every other fight after we switched to it there. I mean, and obviously, ideally wants to try and shut down the enemy Doomfist with it, give his team another tool because they don't really have the accretion to stop Doomfist from doing his thing. But both teams suffered a lot through the chokes in the map. You saw the team that held the point had a huge advantage based on the compositions that were being used. Like, I mean, a greater advantage than normal on a control map, right? Because standing on the point, it is quite open. Teams don't necessarily have a huge lead just by controlling it, but when you've got to filter through such small chokes like that, it's really easy. Muma looked excellent, Matt. Just getting some huge shatters, and Dante switching to the Sombra looked really good. Our second map, we're going to be heading over to Paris here pretty much in just a couple of moments. So another map with a lot of chokes, another map where double shield might be what you want. Yeah, okay, you teased the Torbjorn early on.
Torbjorn here.
What is it? Does it look good against the Doomfist? Do you kind of like that? Because these teams aren't playing the full dive. They're just trying to set up their Dooms as well as they can.
You do like the Torbjorn's Doom, especially in like open spaces, and to be able to control chokes.
Yep.
I'm not surprised we didn't see it on Nepal. I think this, if you were going to play a Torbjorn-centric comp, this type of map would definitely lend its just geometry to that. We saw Torbjorn even when he wasn't good on this map.
Yes. Blase mentioned earlier on is that you might not hear too much, hot mic stuff from these guys while they're playing Torbjorn, because obviously they're going to be very excited to be playing him, and they're going to be very invested in the outcome of rounds in which he's going to be used. Already we see Blase starting to hover it. So, I mean, the Outlaws are going to be on defense here, and I want to see where it sets up. I want to see how Blase uses it. We also don't mention as well, if you get in Torb's face, you're probably going to have a really bad time. Much like Roadhog, his alternate fire gives him a far different effective range. And right click really hurts close up.
Yeah, he uses the Molten Core, like the Overload ability, the new one, and he just becomes impossible to kill. He does extra damage, and then he just blows your tanks up.
Yeah, it's the fire rate that makes a huge difference, and also for working down shields and such.
He's just a hilarious-looking character as well. I mean, anytime we can get some Torbjorn in there, I mean, why not?
What's so funny about being short, Matt?
Well, it's not. I mean, look, me and Torb have a lot in common. Right?
You both have beards.
We both have beards. We're about the same height. Both engineers.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I forgot.
Yeah, I've been told I'm an engineer numerous times now.
Oh man! All right. Well, you're not a sound engineer, as we learned last week. That's for sure. Here comes the Paris Eternal.
Unfortunately, neither are you.
I never claimed it though, bro. I'm about rockets. FD God backs up. Both support lines actually took a fair bit of damage here, but Blase set up. You see where the turret is, so the turret provides an off angle. FD God took a lot of damage from it, but the Eternal able to get rid of the turret. There'll be a chance for that to be set up again. Meko using that mobility on the Diva. I'm glad to see him back on that pick here.
Yeah, and they're running the Sigma again on offense. As Hudman gets some shielding there. As Raucus now with the Coalescence are going to go pretty aggressive. Muma with a Shatter as well. Doesn't seem to connect with anything on the point.
No, not quite yet, but he built that up awfully fast considering the teams were spaced apart a lot early on. Soon could have beaten Dante earlier on. He actually pulled out a little bit too early and went for the Wraith Walk for safety. Now Nico's on the point though. Meko tries to fly across. Already a self-destruct. These tank ultimates being built up in the first fight is ridiculous, and Nico can't get behind the pillar to survive. A big pick. Meko was just wanting to refresh the mech to stay in the fight, but he gets extra value and the kill there. Meko gets hit by the accretion. Soon got stunned out of his ultimate, and Jexa finished him off. Still some numbers here for the Houston Outlaws, but slowly, surely, the Paris Eternal are starting to whittle them down.
Well, they're going to continue to fight this as Raucus is going to try and use a Coalescence to back up Muma. As Muma just charges onto the point.
Gray had Coalescence as well, though. So the Eternal, you don't often see this. Long fights for attacking teams, they still have numbers. They spawn a long way away. And it's also because Houston, there's a long way to walk back to the point. Paris are happy to trade evenly in fights like that. They spawn a little closer.
So they'll swap off of our buddy Torb now. And I think the turret placement wasn't ideal there because they were able to deal with it quickly, and then you're not able to build up another one. Like, you can put it on the platform and let it shoot through the choke and then force them to come up to there to fight it and then even get some damage down on the point. Probably would have been a better position for the turret. But the Outlaws, they go and play a Sombra comp now. It's been pretty effective when Dante's been on Sombra.
No doubt. Let's see how quickly he can build ultimate. Matt's going to have to be fast. Ben Best gets to the point and he has Shatter. How does he use it? Is he trying to get behind Muma's shield? No, just get rid of the Reinhardt. You'll have an opportunity here, but the Outlaws are staying scarce. They move off the point. They've lost 3 already. Jexa, again, in the kill feed. Once more, that aggressive Lucio play having an impact. But will it be enough here? That's 2 ticks, and we're still counting. Dante's only 50% on his EMP. Something's got to give here. Meko lost it off of the point, just yeeted skyward, and no chance to contest. Paris finish with 4 minutes.
Not bad. Not bad there from Paris. And you saw the aggression of Ben Best. And he's able to play that aggressive because he doesn't have to worry about a Reaper getting in his face. Like, what's the worst thing that happens if he gets hacked, right? You can have Hanbin throw a shield up. He can use kinetic grass to suck up some of the damage. But you're always going to have the front-loaded damage advantage when you have the Reaper Doom and they play something like Doom Sombra. So you see that's why Benbest is able to just get in there and not really worry about getting blown up.
Yeah, with confidence in, you could push in a Muma's shield. The Outlaws are in disarray. They're getting flanked. But in fairness, Matt, this is something we see from Paris fairly often. I mean, this is the kind of map and map type that, you know, we see draws on in the past because both teams are able to attack effectively. Now, breaking point A, maybe not so easy, right? You need to play it slow. You need to get that player advantage. Point B for attackers can be even harder. Like, you need to start a snowball fight, which is exactly what Paris did because they had ultimates from point A. Oddly enough, though, Matt, we normally see big snowballs when defensive teams can't build ults in the first fight, but the Outlaws did do that. They managed to use a lot of their ultimates in that first fight too.
And it's going to be the Paris Eternal on defense here running the D.Va this time. So quite interesting to see the switch off of the Sigma. Yeah, to go to D.Va. Potentially for maybe they find self-destruct versus the Gravitic Flux to be a major difference maker, as we have seen some good Gravitic Flux uses from Hanbin thus far.
All right. Blase on the Sombra this time. See, it's synonymous with Dante.
But now you keep, but now keeping the Doom. So let's see what they decide to do. Does he go back and play Sombra now, or do we see the Reaper stay? Because I don't hate Sombra Reaper. I actually think then you have actually a significant better chance than like Sombra Doom, right? The Sombra Doom's reliant on the hack plus the kills coming in quick from the Doom, as Paris, expectedly, they take the fast fight here at the choke. You wouldn't sit back and play with the Doomfist Reaper from a distance.
It's hard for somebody to get through that choke because everyone's spamming it, right? It doesn't have, you know, an ammo clip size, so you can just spray, and just the smallest amount of damage will reveal Sombra in that choke. You'd have to almost translocate over the left side to get her through.
Nifty
but
TP
Dante's
here.
done that easily. Yeah. He's in, swinging. Absolutely going for the fence. Jex is down already to Nico. So Paris again using the chokes like they did on Nepal. And it looks very, very good with the Doomfist in tow. They're able to play slow on their attacking side, and now they sit back on defense, and they're trying to be a little bit more decisive. The Outlaws actually, as defenders, gave Paris much more room than Paris are giving them. Paris do not want to let Houston get through this choke at all.
Right, you have to play this aggressive. Like, the Outlaws didn't do this because they're playing a Torbjorn comp. The Paris Eternal with Doomfist Reaper, like if you just sit around here on the platform with the Doom and just kind of wait, you're not really getting any value of the Doom or the Reaper for that matter. So they have to be the aggressive team here. So you see Houston just trying to like bait them into a closed area, but Paris not going for it just yet.
Look at this, again, aggressive push. They start the fight, they make sure the Outlaws are inside an enclosed space. Coalescence comes out first. Muma Shatter, it's big, it hits 4. Can he follow up and actually get the charge kill? He can. And that's it. Muma wanted the Eternal to get aggressive. He waits till Benbest is mid-swing and then lays the Shutter down. Instant fight win.
But I feel like a lot of these fights they're winning, Mitch, are just off the back of like Muma 4-player shatters. And now Benbest has decided to shatter as well as they've pushed up close. Can Paris get a touch? Well, Houston's gotten off the point.
Self-destruct though, that's going to zone them a little bit, but only the one tick for the Outlaws. They actually pushed off the point to try and continue the fight. They only had one player beginning the cap. The Benbest is on the point. Blase playing out in the open in an obvious spot, and he's backing up. No way! What? The Outlaws use ultimates. Umuma opens the fight with a huge shatter, and they've got to go again with a minute 20 left on the clock.
That is very odd there.
Give it to me straight, dog.
I mean, they got the shatter, they picked up 4, and then they decided to like push forward a little bit. And Paris, they get a speed boost and they get back towards the point. And when Benbest decided to shatter, there was nobody on the point there for Houston. They weren't even taking it.
Soon, sound barrier now for both teams. The Outlaws now, they have to invest either way. They get rid of Blase early. That shatter from Benbest. Questionable. Muma looked a little bit better though once more. Able to get him knocked to the ground, and Meko finishes off the kill. This looks a little bit cleaner from the Houston Outlaws. Keep an eye on those ultimates though. Blase going for his. Sound barrier had to be used by Jexter, but the Eternal are they're in a dangerous spot, Matt, when they defend point B.
But still, you've dwindled off so much clock if you're Paris. I mean, look at this. They're gonna take point A. Congrats, but 3 minutes and 27 seconds. So looks like Houston now. They do have some ultimates. As They're going to go towards point B. Paris, oh, one player is actually stuck behind. This is Hanbin. Look at Hanbin's positioning. It's not ideal.
Not at all. Can he get back, or can he have an impact from here? I mean, D.Va is a flanker, but without any help.
That is a very long flank.
That is, oh, and look, caught out by Mecha in main. Can't really do anything at all. So no defense matrix value for the rest of the Paris Eternal because, frankly, Hanbin could only use it on himself. Still playing off to the side, or at least he's keeping Grey alive, but they're going to try and trickle on here for some stall. The Outlaws, yes, they get the map done. 2 minutes remaining for them after the slight boost in time. Paris are ahead.
Yeah, you just don't know what would have happened if they would have just stayed on the point and taken it a little bit earlier. I'd love to see whether it be Reinforce or Custa break that whole sequence of events down, because it was quite odd as Houston pushed past Benbest with a shatter, which seems like it's a little bit of a rush shatter. FD God comes in, though. They clean up some kills. They use a coalescence, and they're able to fight the point back. Still, though, the advantage is with the Paris Eternal, although they give that up with 2 minutes on the clock. What do they decide to run on D now? Do they run with the same thing? Playing aggressive here. Houston cracked it eventually. They needed some ultimates to do it. So I think you stay with this again. You play the same exact way, although it is OT extra time here.
Sure.
I still think you play the same exact way, because the only way the Outlaws were able to break it was with, like, even if you're the Paris Eternal, you lose this map, going to halftime. Like, the only way we're losing these fights is with Dante EMPs and Muma shattering 4 of us. If we don't line up and get shattered, and if we prevent him from playing Sombra for an extended period, like, you feel like you have a fighting chance in the series.
Right, and you feel like the shatters are easier to stop, right? You know, the more aware
theory,
you are of
yeah.
them, the more you play around them. Sometimes you just get EMP'd, fam. Like, that's just life. You know, you can't do a whole lot about that if you're standing out in the open.
The EMP is difficult to stop because it's the composition that Paris wants. Everybody has to play grouped.
Who's Dante trying to assassinate here as Tracer?
He's just trying to put pressure on the point. Just trying to get them all the way back to the point, come off this ledge. So we can see from Dante's POV, he was going all the way back to the point there, just trying to draw them off of this high ground.
All right, we'll see. He started to capture the point now.
Yes,
he's moved on immediately. A couple players go back for Paris. You know, you wonder who it is that's going to be sort of left to deal with him in the 1v1. Maybe FD God likes taking them, but Dante now can join the fight. He's the backside of the pincer here, and already having lost Nico, Paris don't have that burst kill potential outside of Soon or a crazy charge from Benbest, which is highly inadvisable and unlikely. That's perfect, though. Hardbin sees Dante lurking and bursting down. Micro rockets and a melee hit to finish things off. Double coalescence now, but they've already lost Jexa, so only healing from Raucus for Houston, and it's just not enough. They're either not lined up enough, or the damage from the Reapers is just overcoming. Moira's healing, and there's 55 seconds on the clock. Both teams getting some ultimates, using some ultimates.
They need to not let Muma just shatter everybody. I mean, that's really the point here.
That's where we're watching, right?
It's got to be. I mean, Muma's landed some crazy shatters in the first 2 maps. They cannot allow yet another one to happen.
So Benbest needs to get ready for some Ryan games, because Muma is looking for any opening that he can exploit. Up on the stairs, not a good shatter from Benbest. He tried to go for the plate, doesn't work out. This time Muma doesn't find much either. Here they've lost Blase early in the fight. Soon went for the Death Blossom. Blase was close to his, but won't have a chance to use it. Maybe an opportunity later on, but it has to be a quick reset for Houston. They're running out of time.
And they've used all their ultimates too.
Not the stagger. I mean, not the stagger.
It's looking horrible now for the Outlaws as Meko, he'll spawn up with barely any time to even make a run towards the point. Self-destruct. Sound barrier if necessary for the Paris Eternal. It'll be Dante to touch.
Yeah, he drops in and drops out real quick, but he stays alive. That's important. Still 6 players for the Outlaws to contest with. Here's a sound barrier, though. Paris might want to get a little bit aggressive on this. As long as they don't C9 the point, they need to make use of this shield, and that's perfect. Muma was hiding, staying out of line of sight, but Nico punished that. Used the terrain he was cowering behind against him. Now have a Meteor Strike. Nico has a chance to reset. Looking for Raucus, who doesn't have his fade while he's in Coalescence, but is still able to avoid the full damage from the Meteor Strike. Grey, though, slurping him down on the point. Tough to show your stuff as Moira, but that's a nice little 2-piece. And Paris Eternal hold the Outlaws off from capturing an extra time.
And now if you're the Houston Outlaws, what do you play on D? They broke the Torbjorn setup rather easily. I do think, though, you can go back to Torb, and if the turret placement's a little bit different, I think you can probably get a more extended hold on this.
Well, the turret placement was quite close. It was on the stairs, so
yeah.
Paris were able to just to sort of walk up the stairs and then get rid of it. Where would you rather have it?
They
On
were
this
able to
point,
huddle right
perhaps?
towards it. You can have it in the back of the point. You can have it on the platform. A lot of different spots you can put the turret to watch multiple angles. They kind of thought that they were going to jump maybe potentially onto this high ground platform at the start, and then the turret could have gotten some kind of crossfire, but the Paris Eternal, they recognize where the turret is straight away. They just run right up to it and kill it. And then they know, okay, now we can take the fight to the turret. We're not taking all this extra chip damage coming in from the turret. We can take the fight head on, and then they win it. The Outlaws, they ditch the whole Torbjorn thing. They'll go with the Reaper Doom, which is going to be scary for them. Like, it wasn't as scary for Paris because it's only 2 minutes on the clock. Like,
Right.
you have a brawly fight, you lose in the choke. They take the point, but they still don't have a ton of time to take point B. If you're the Outlaws, losing in the choke means you lose the map.
That's it. The margin of error, Matt,
Yes.
is almost non-existent. They can't play anything experimental. They can't play anything risky. They have to play standard, and they have to play safe. Paris out of the doors early on. I mean, they are looking pretty darn close to taking victory here on their home ground. I'm sure they'd be delighted to have that attributed to their nation. 3 minutes to work with here. And they just need to force an error. Just force an error or make a play. They have some time. The amount of teams, though, Matt, we've seen sort of squander those opportunities and still lose. They would hate to go to a draw here. Just one tick they're looking for. Blase. Oh, it's a mutual stun. Benbest hits his shift key just in time to knock Blase down and prevent himself from being sent into the nearest wall. And Muma's down. The Reinhardt's missing, and that must be the bell tolling here for the Houston Outlaws. No
so
front
low.
line. Meko desuited. The rest of the Outlaws now have to try and stay out of line of sight, but find kills. It seems almost impossible. At least they have the healing, but Blase, as expected, Matt, no defense matrix to keep him alive from the shots coming in. And Paris look comfortable here. They'll take map number 2.
Yeah, Paris at home. They run through the Outlaws there. The Outlaws, their first defense is really where they lost the game, Mitch. The Torbjorn setup on point A gets broken instantly. And then once they're able to get point A, they're forced to switch off of the Torb for point B. They go to a Sombra. Paris Eternal, they recognize that they have some ultimates. They take advantage of that lack of damage from the Outlaws, and they're able to take both points quickly, which allows them to have that extra time in OT.
Two interesting maps. Both of these teams are trying to play different styles at times. We saw the Sombra inclusion. We saw a bit of the Sigma. I'm interested to hear what our experts have to say about it over at the desk. So let's throw it to them, and we'll be back after halftime.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's first and only nationwide 5G network. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Hello and welcome to our first game break presented by Pringles Wavy. My name is Zoe. Joining me are Costa and Reinforce. And currently, the match between the Houston Outlaws and the Paris Eternal is 1 apiece. At the beginning, we did think that Arya might just know more.
I thought she might be a prophet for a little bit there.
She might be a prophet. You never know. But turns out she isn't. Paris takes it home on Paris.
Yeah.
Big surprise.
Big surprise, yeah. It is their home map. I don't know. Is it actually true that Paris has a positive map record on Paris? Because I feel like
home field advantage
at
at that point, right? That's got to be cheating. Like the Paris playing in Paris, that's like they should be banned from ever being able to play Paris in matches because I just don't think it's fair to the rest of the teams.
Or
that seems fair.
We make a map for every Overwatch League team.
Ah, that's true.
Or just that. Yeah, I'm sure that's the simpler solution. Or maybe statistically, it's anyway.
There's gonna be a couple of decades.
I want to see Paris in their homestand playing on Paris. That's what I need, and then they lose. That'd be really rough. Anyway, I want to talk about the match. Let's get into this because, quite frankly, Outlaws had a really great control map. I really love what we've seen from their side, and so far no Torp sightings, and that meant that Dante kind of had his way with it. You know, like he really went off on that Sombra. And you don't want to see that. You don't want to give Dante so much space that he can just do his thing. 50% of his hacks actually led to kills. And that's quite an achievement.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Because of the Paris Eternal are not playing this Torbjorn, we are seeing that Houston Outlaws can play the Tracer as well as the Sombra pretty much as they want. We saw that on Paris as well, where Dante was playing the Tracer. I don't know if I completely agree with the Tracer. I can see how Tracer is easier to distract with the backlines. You can touch the point and then also engage because you have the blinks. Sombra, you pretty much have to translocate out of the fight, and you can't really navigate the fight as easily as you're capturing the point. But I do think that Sombra is probably the better hero in this scenario personally, and so I would like to see Dante on that Sombra a bit more if the Paris Eternal are not playing the Torbjorn, because it opens up that window for Dante, and that's what he does best, playing that Sombra and Tracer.
I also think if the Paris seem to be leaning towards playing the Sigma on Hanbin instead of the D.Va, and I think Sombra is significantly better against that. I think the Sombra can get easier hacks, charge her ult faster, and that kind of stuff. You don't have a D.Va to contest you. So I would like to see just more Sombra coming out of them, because we just saw on Paris the matchup of Doomfist versus Reaper. They weren't getting the better of it.
Yeah, actually, speaking of that Sigma pick from Hanbin, what do you guys think? What does that actually add? What value do you get after Sigma versus having a D.Va?
Well,
you think it's the accretion, Johnny? I'm trying to work it out. I don't think the shield is that important in this meta, so it must be the accretion and the hands up.
Well, I think the hands up. The hands up.
I don't know what the official
I do think the accretion is actually quite powerful against something like a Doomfist. I don't know. You know, these are all great off tanks. I even think you could play a Zarya if you wanted to actually bubble your Doomfist into fights. I think Sigma is a bit viable depending on the team composition you're facing. I do think you can deal with the Doomfist with the accretion. I do think it's quite good at protecting your team from a Reaper. And if you are playing as a Torbjorn, I do think that the second shield helps against Torbjorn-based compositions, because remember, that is a lot of extra shield spam. And so it grants you some more time. I don't have a huge problem with the Sigma depending on the lineup you're facing, but if you are facing like a Sombra and a Doomfist, I absolutely do not think you should be on that Sigma at all. That's where I would like it to even see like a Zarya instead, because it's much easier to navigate around the EMP as a Zarya, and then you can also apply those bubbles and use a Graviton with that as well. So it depends on what team you're facing, but I can understand why they picked Sigma a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
A little bit. Okay, he understands
Just
a little
bit. Just a little.
Just a little bit. That's enough. That's enough. Now, guys, it is our favorite time of the day. That's right. It is Crunch Time, presented by Pringles Wavy. And Reinforce, you got to go on for us, don't you?
I mean, it's a simple cleanup, really. I do think that this was quite a sick play from the Houston Outlaws. Okay, Zoe. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought this was all we tuned in for today. We wanted to see the big shatters and the big cleanups, right? That's what we wanted to see. Yeah,
yes.
So I think that this was quite a cool play. We saw a huge shatter coming from Muma, and Dante with the cleanup with the Death Blossom. So I quite appreciated this play. You all know I did. I think it deserved a replay because it was such a great, fantastic moment. And we have to say as well, Muma has hit some nice shatter so far on Reinhardt. So that is quite impressive. And actually, the Houston Outlaws are standing a fight. Words. they are actually putting up a good fight against the Paris Eternal with a chance to actually go away with the series here. So I'm quite impressed by Muma so far. I think he's taking it to Ben Best, and I do think that the Houston Outlaws could be in for maybe a bit of an upset today against the Paris Eternal.
Ooh, Costa, I mean, you did not pick the Outlaws, but do you think they have a good chance?
Yeah, maybe. I think if they tend towards the Sombra, if they tend towards the Sombra and play towards their strengths, I think they can definitely win this. I don't want to see them mirror Paris Eternal.
All right, let's hope for more interesting picks coming out of both of those teams as we're heading over to Dorado for all the action. So let's send it back to Mr. X and Mitch.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overwatch League. Here we are live from my bloody office. I'm Mitch Leslie. I'm joined by Matt Murillo. The boys are back and there's some Overwatch to cast. Yeah, no doubt about it.
It'll be the Gladiators on defense to start things off. So we'll talk a little bit about what the Gladiators composition is, what they've run already.
Now, let's take a look at the second game we saw last night, and that is the Hangzhou Spark.
A clever little pincer maneuver. They're able to eventually pull it up, and we've got a pause. So the game is getting a pause, and we're heading straight back into it. Where do we leave off? Well, if you're like me and you have the memory of a goldfish, we're actually pausing it. I'm going back to the camera. The game has been on pause. We're heading back into it.
Wait, no, I threw himself off the side.
Bro, I'm gonna be real with you. Every time I say the game has been on pause, they re-pause it. So I'm just gonna stop talking. I see the game being played.
Yeah, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Nori the cat, the hero that we probably didn't know that we need. Maybe we did know we needed.
Yeah,
them, but not in that form. But we definitely didn't deserve it.
Well,
Matt, that explains your issues last week, though. At least.
Right, it does. We have somebody different though. My dog Hugo is on. He's on the audio this week. Hey, what's up?
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
Would you say he's more qualified?
He is. He is. He's
right.
he is more prone to sleeping on the job. Then Nori probably, and he's freaking out. He wants to go run after his little carrot, so I'll let him go. But no, he's probably more qualified than Nori. I would assume.
Well, listen, he can sleep on the job. You might get hot mic'd a bit, but at least like you won't get muted mid-cast, right? There won't be any like me throwing to you when you're not being there. You know, it's kind of like that trust exercise where I fell backwards and you just weren't there, and I'm not really sure how to proceed.
Well, look, yeah, I mean that's valid. That's valid. There's no reason for you to trust me at all. When it comes to this.
We'll discuss it with the therapist next time we get there. We're going to be heading into
match
number 3 though.
That.
No, come on, bro. That was the agreement. That was the agreement. We're gonna, yeah. Dorado is going to be our next map as we head through. And if you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, it's a 1-1 series here between the Houston Outlaws and the Paris Eternal. Two teams trying to play different styles, but the map of Paris was just a little bit of a sticking point for the Houston Outlaws, Matt. They struggled getting through chokes. Hot tip, by the way, there are chokes in almost every map in Overwatch. Dorado is one of them. We will potentially still see Doomfist make a difference on that first point, maybe.
Dorado is going to be a little bit, obviously vastly different because of the elevation, the verticality when we go from point A. When you complete point A and you go from there to the second checkpoint, there's a ton of verticality at that point. So who do you play in terms of the Houston Outlaws, and what do you want to run?
Well, so far the Outlaws want to go with the Torb. So this is a composition, Matt, that's going to be relying on the front line to actually provide a large amount of that damage. It really depends if Torb's in position to do this. Does Blase play more aggressive? It looks like, yeah. So this is a very forward setup. The turret seems to just be there to sort of discourage anyone trying to get up on the building, to try and sort of get a high ground position.
Right.
The Outlaws want to keep that for themselves while they play close to the choke.
And you're going to have a Torbjorn Sombra setup. So really about control, getting a lot of value out of the Torbjorn turret. I mean, Torb is your main source of damage with this comp, and on top of the Reinhardt, right? So we'll see how they play around this. The turret set up on the high ground. That's a hack early on to Benbest. So if you can deny his shield, how does the Torbjorn turret get that extra damage? Then they take it out on the high ground.
Yeah, doesn't really do a whole lot. It can act as a 7th player, theoretically, if it's in the right spot. And I think there was actually Meko defending it with Defense Matrix. So it didn't work out, though. Eventually, Paris able to get through it. But Nico goes down, trying to extend in the Meko. But look at the Outlaws. They take a break. They're sitting back a little bit. They're giving some ground. Meko goes in, though. Interestingly, though, why the rest of the Outlaws are kind of disengaging. So maybe a little bit out of step with the rest of the team there. And he just gets picked up for free, man.
Yeah, that's not great. So now you're going to have a Coalescence come out from Raucus as you're in a little bit of a desperation mode. You see the Torb turret from Blase was doing some work to the side. They just have to turn their attention. It's only a few seconds, but still, it's a huge distraction as the Coalescence was from behind from Raucus. They use it to try and keep Dante alive. He gets taken out by FD God, and that's big because he has an EMP.
Yeah, Dante, I mean, FD God doing what he does best. He hit the stage in New York, Matt, with some flashy Lucio aggression, and this map's no different. It's going to be a sound barrier for the Houston Outlaws to keep the running in this fight, but they're playing a player down. They do not have Moomer, and Dante still returning to the fray. With EMP, no less, he pops it as soon as he gets over, but he didn't get anyone with it. No one got hit by the EMP. Dante was either too high or too far back to affect anyone in Paris. That ultimate just goes down the drain, and the Paris Eternal punish it.
It was a combination of both. Paris was leaving because of the self-destruct, and then he goes over the wall. He's pretty high up, and the EMPs as they're trying to run away from Meko's self-destruct. He catches absolutely nothing, so a big whiff there with the EMP, and now an advantage to Paris. They have 5 ultimates coming into the next fight. Houston will have Coalescence, Shatter, and they have the Molten Core.
A titanic blunder from the Houston Outlaws. They come into the next fight now at great risk of being snowballed the heck out of this map. Let's see, though, if Paris can make good use of these ultimates. If they start throwing the bad ones away, then they'll look the same as Houston. Egg on their face. Boomer drops down. Meko and Raucus also. Oh, they drop straight into a Kinetic Flux, though. All right, Raucus is going to sit back. Gravitic Flux, of course. Soon's going to be able to work down Moomer as he was knocked to the ground. There was a Coalescence at least to keep Houston topped up so they wouldn't immediately die as they dropped. But using a Coalescence there, they needed it later on in the fight when Paris started to use some of their real ultimates. Paris cycled through 1, 2, 3, 4 ultimates in that fight. They get the win. They still have the Death Blossom to play with, and they're still moving on this card.
I mean, you're going to use 4 ultimates in a fight to the opponent's 2. You'd really have to try and mess that fight up to lose it. So, not a huge surprise that Paris wins that fight. The cart getting closer towards this second checkpoint as Look how Paris is spreading out here against Muma with this shatter. Is that they get a hack on the Soon and then they shatter him out of the Death Blossom.
Soon just got absolutely boomed. Not only hacked but also shattered during the Death Blossom. Is it worth using those two abilities though to get rid of the Reaper? So far, not so bad. Hanbin and Benbest are hacked right now. Dante got another EMP, but FD still got his sound barrier off. It may not matter though. Look at Meko creating so much space around the cart. Now the Outlaws can descend upon the disparate, clumps of Paris players.
Is it too much for the Outlaws to use there, though?
I mean, they were at risk of getting snowballed out of that entire second phase of the map because of the ultimate disparity coming into it. I think they just want to try and get a chance to reset.
You really just buy yourself an extra, what, 30 to 40 seconds?
Oh, is this a Soon special?
Shatter. Coalescence.
Soon's looking for a back out. No.
And Gravitic Flux. No. I mean,
right.
what was that?
Oh, that went wrong in every possible way. Well, he could have Wraith walked away. He'd probably
Is that Josh Wilkinson there?
Oh, no, he did. I don't know. We'll tune and see if
I've seen that before. That'll be on some fails clip.
We've seen some amazing backcaps from Soon, though, Matt.
We have, yeah.
One, so.
But it's usually been on the Tracer. It's a little harder to get away with Reaper. You see, he's just got this, like, feels like a 45-second teleport mechanic.
Matt, Soon, I think he's getting camped outside of spawn, so it's a 5v5 here. Neither Soon nor Dante are in the fight. Coalescence here from Gray. Not too shabby at all. Hanbin drops down to the low ground, was hoping to get a big accretion on Blase to stop him from being effective. He was knocked to the ground. There it is. Soon sees Blase prone. He drops on in, and Nico follows up, of course, with the Meteor Strike. And they'll get rid of Houston now. They'll clean them off the card, and still with 1 minute 45, it blows out to a healthy time bank here. Houston did get the reset they wanted, by slowing Paris down by spending all those ultimates, but it was only for one more fight, Matt.
Well, the Outlaws, they'll have the Coalescence and they have EMP, so they can play quite aggressive here, knowing that the Paris Eternal don't have anything available to them. The only thing that they probably assume Paris has at this point is maybe the Death Blossom. So we'll see how the Outlaws play around this. You can probably get away with just using maybe EMP plus like a Death Blossom later in the fight.
Oh, this is like Metal Gear Solid, like when you're so close to getting spotted.
Yeah.
Dante didn't have a cardboard box to hide under, but he didn't actually have to pop out with that EMP. Hanbin was looking for him, but I think the Eternal was so on edge about that EMP, Matt.
It's even better here for the Outlaws, right? You don't have to burn EMP. You can just use Coalescence plus a hack to work them down. Here's Muma taking Hanbin for a ride.
No, he didn't even get the...
He curves his pin around the corner, right, to extend it.
The boy just got completely boomed.
Nico now goes over to a Sombra of his own. This should allow the Outlaws, though. You'll get an EMP off. You can use it with like a Death Blossom or a Shatter. You should be able to win this fight rather easily, and then also build back up towards that Coalescence.
Outlaws up on the high ground here. Equal ults essentially in this fight. Okay, so Gray goes for an aggressive start with the Coalescence. He got hacked. He got interrupted. Perfect from Dante, waiting in the wings, not just to get a kill, but to stop that Coalescence. And now the Paris Eternal thought they were in an advantage. They're going to spend another ultimate from FD God, but Blase gets a Death Blossom and is able to snipe down Nico.
And the sound barrier there comes as you're probably trying to get them to use EMP to negate the effects of it. But the Outlaws are so patient, they know that that fight is a winning fight in their favor. They don't need to burn the EMP. Dante with just a hack cancels that Coalescence. So you can hold on to EMP, you can use it in this fight, you can hold on to it. I mean, Jexay's going to have sound barrier. You have both support ults and a Shatter. Do you even need it?
Okay, Dante tries to get the hack down, but Soon was able to help out with Nico to get that kill. Player advantage now for Paris. Self-destruct. Benbest able to put a shield up at the last moment to avoid it. There's the Shatter to interrupt Soon's Death Blossom, but Hanbin's able to find Muma while he was trying to shatter the Reaper down. He left himself exposed. A 1-for-1 trade, and with the closer spawn, the Outlaws are favored now. They have advantage getting rid of Nico and Gray again in a fight that looks like it's kind of already over. If you extrapolate a bit, he still goes for the Coalescence. Paris is still doubling down because they only have 40 seconds left in the round. Gray gets rid of Meko's mech. But there's more to Meko than the mech.
But you see how low some of the members of Paris are as Gray tries to get away. Benbest just desperate for the heals, and Blase just hunts him down on the Reaper. No fear at all. Now if you're Houston, do you consider playing, you have to play really far up here almost, Mitch? Because you need, if you're going to get EMP'd, you need to get EMP'd early to give yourself a chance to get back to the card.
This is what Paris are playing for. How does Nico get in without being spotted? I think he just has to. He hasn't thrown a translocator. I think he's hoping that Houston play low.
No, he's got to. They're trying to force him down from the high ground and then get the EMP.
Oh no! He got spotted and then pretty much hacked straight away, or at least it was an attempt. Now Nico has to get translocate out. He's not where he needs to be. He does have his translocator available. Here he comes in EMP. He only gets 2. He doesn't stop Raucus from getting coalescence, but they can still get through Moomer and Meko. Hitting 2 tanks, that's pretty high value for a desperation EMP. Is it enough though? Hanbin desuited. Nico trying to play for the high ground and get rid of Blase, but he's healing up too much, and Meko shuts him down to the high ground. Dante now gets to take the pole position as Sombra. And look at this, hacked on the point is Hanbin. Can't get back into his mag. FD Goddess has to escape from the self-destruct explosion. He gets out, but Gray's not so lucky. Another shatter. There it is. FD God knocked to the ground this time, and Houston makes sure they do the job right this time around.
And there you see the power of Dante Sombra, being able to play around him on that hero. He was phenomenal there once he switched over to it. The Outlaws, they get a hold. It's almost a map completion there for the Paris Eternal. You're very close to completing the whole thing, but still, really good look from the Outlaws when they have the Sombra in play.
Well, the chat is quiet right now, Matt. I'll be honest. There's definitely no spam of or... And there's definitely no in the chat. I'm pretty sure that the Outlaws are dialed in now. Getting a stop gives them a win condition here against the Paris Eternal, but this map is hard. It's very hard to push through this final phase. You see Paris Eternal, they get there, they have 3 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock to work with.
It is very difficult.
Awfully fast.
It is very difficult to get through that, but when you're playing, if you're going to play a Sombra and you're rolling and you're getting these EMPs and you're forcing them to either try and bait out EMP with support ults or hold on to support ults and just not use them because you don't want to get burned by an EMP, it can get very snowbally in the Outlaws' favor if they can make this Sombra work.
Again, the difficult part about that last part of the map is that as attackers, you can get high ground, but you have to go through the chokiest of chokes to get it. The defenders start with that advantage. You know, topographically speaking, it's just hard to break. So let's see now. The defenders want to start with another high ground advantage, and that's Paris. They're going to set Soon up on the high ground. They're not playing super close here. There's no Torbjorn hijinks. And the rest of the Eternal sitting back. So Soon wants to drop in behind Houston while they're busy dealing with a threat in front. Let's see if he can actually do this. It's up to Soon to make this work for himself.
See how Dante decides to play this here at the start. So Meko just pressuring them out from the high ground.
Soon just pieced out, Matt. He TP'd away.
Yeah, Paris will have to rotate. What kind of positioning can Dante get here? Or what kind of hack can he get off first?
Nico playing from the side. Oh, I mean, woe betide anyone that gets in his way if he lines up that wall, and that's exactly what just happened to Meko there. He gets caught out for just a split second, and it's enough to get rid of the bank. Movement knocked back, no wall behind him, and Reinhardt doesn't get knocked back very far anyway, so Nico needs to find other targets, but they get rid of Movement now. Nico gets in. The disruption was enough to enable Hanbin to get in, get rid of the Armored Crusader. And FD God, he's vibing. He's straight vibing right now.
This is what they need to do against the Sombra. They did it on Paris, and when the Sombra's in play, they lack that extra just kind of scare factor in terms of not having a Doom, right? Like the Doom coming into the backline, one-shotting one. Look, they get a hack here. What is the rest? Paris doesn't even look. They just go forward. They try and barrel through. They're not able to do it this time because the Coalescence comes through from Raucus.
Gray got ruined. It looked like he was either going for Coalescence or had just finished it. His ultimate had reset to 0 at that time, so it's quite possible that it was a shutdown on Gray's ultimate just as he went to charge it up. If that is the case, that is uncanny timing, not likely intentional. More like Dante just saw Gray coming across and went for it, but he could see that Paris were going aggressive. Paris just got completely smashed in that fight, and not having Gray support ultimate, which is probably the only one they were planning to use, really hurt them. Is there a chance to contest here? Soon drops in, has to rate walk immediately, but Benbest is now right. He tries for a shadow, doesn't find anyone. Sound barrier now for the Houston Outlaws. Meteor Strike, Moomin notices it and just steps to the side. Self-destruct doesn't find anything but Dante. Hanbin's able to find the one kill, but Moomin charges in, saving his shatter for a rainy day perhaps, because it looks like the Outlaws can play with numbers here with the reinforcements. Nico, if he doesn't find 2 kills in that moment, there's no chance for Paris in the fight, but he's done just that. He'll follow up and get another one, Matt. Doomfist and burst potential and getting numbers advantages in a pinch. You cannot ask for much more than that.
And that's why you're so scared when you have the Doomfist versus the Sombra, right? Sombra can't do that. Like what Nico just did on the Doom, you can only really do on Doomfist. Come in, get those insta-kills. We can take a look from Nico's POV. He just comes from the backside with a rocket punch, a seismic slam, uppercut combo. And that's why you want to be the aggressive team when you go against a composition that has like Sombra Reaper and you have a Doomfist, because Doomfist can do that type of stuff.
Paris were in a 4v5 at the time now.
I believe Dante just died while using EMP there. Right as we came out of that replay, you could see Dante use an EMP. Didn't look like anyone got hit by it, by the Paris Eternal, and BenBest was able to pick up the kill.
Well, tough times now for Houston, Matt. That was really their fight to win, and without EMP, I mean, can Dante get it in the next 50 seconds? As far as I can tell, he has not been building his ultimate nearly that fast. I can tell you, he's getting it once every minute and 35 seconds. They do not have the time to get another one unless he somehow finds tons of damage in a very short space of time.
And this is also the downside of playing a Sombra comp, right? When you're so feast or famine determining on what happens with the ultimate. So you use the EMP, maybe the only EMP you get here on offense, and you don't get anything for it. Can Muma come up with another game-saving shatter? I mean, they've asked so much of him so far in the series.
And they'll still ask more, Matt. Gray with a Coalescence forces Houston away. Now, this is okay. Houston have 2 support ults. They're going to need both of them, but just having those available could give them the edge. Boomer steps up, mutual charge. He's looking for a shatter, trying to get behind BenBest somehow, but now Soon is going to be bringing up the rear. He pushes in. That's the sound barrier. You can see desperately Blaze's looking for a chance to build that Death Blossom in time, but he's stunned before he gets it. He goes down. Empty God's able to get rid of Dante there, and Meko self-destruct will just be fireworks in the sky, celebrating another victory here for the Paris Eternal. The Outlaws, they had to be ultimates, Matt, but they just couldn't get them when they needed them.
It's Paris. They get a full hold on defense here. They don't complete the map, but they get very close. And that is the danger of playing Sombra, is when you have the Sombra Reaper, you're playing a lot around these EMPs, being able to farm it quickly. You're not able to get good value out of your EMP there, and you're not even able to get point A. And then what's the big difference on the other side? Nico with those insta-kills coming in on the Doomfist, coming in clutch.
And Matt, this is the Paris Eternal without Exi. They do not need that hit scan specialist right now, especially with McCree out of rotation, but they're making it work. We haven't seen a ton of Nico Doomfist on stream in the past, right? It's not really been something he went for. In the past, he was playing more of an off-tank role and sometimes a bit more Genji. Paris now really looking solid. They lost to Houston last time. This time they're looking to make it a 3-1 victory. We'll see if they can achieve that, though, right after this break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's first and only nationwide 5G network. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you've missed any of this series so far, it's definitely one to go back and watch the VODs of. Paris Eternal coming to this matchup, still considered to be a favorite in general, with the caveat of having lost their last matchup against Houston quite convincingly. This time, though, they're coming with a different lineup. Nico comes in, he's playing DPS. The Doomfist looks very good. Paris are playing to their strategy, the one that they sort of came up with and developed. But Hanbin has moved now over towards the D.Va a little bit more than the Sigma. And Matt, it's making a big difference.
It definitely is. I also think the one of the main differences is that Houston, they've gone with the Sombra now, and when they get the EMPs, it looks great. They're able to cycle through those ultimates. It's just when they don't get value with the EMP, then it puts them behind 2-3 fights, and it puts them in a lot of trouble. Going into the next map, it will be Hollywood, I believe, as it looks like both teams are keeping the same rosters in. Hollywood, although a different map type than a map like Dorado, still has a lot of the same verticality on the second part of the map. So it'll be interesting again to see what both of these teams decide to go to. It seems like Paris just committed to the Reaper Doomfist combination, and then whether it be a Sigma earlier in the series or a D.Va in that off-tank role. Sorry, Houston, they seem a little bit more willing to experiment. Some Torbjorn setups, some setups with Tracer on Paris, Sombra as well. It'll be interesting to see what they go for.
Do you have any thoughts, Matt, on, just quickly before we jump in, on why we're not seeing much Ana right now? That Moira seems to be the go-to for so many of these
When you're going to play a death ball type of composition that revolves around everybody being close together and not a lot of spacing, there's not a great need for Ana over Moira. Like, Moira has a great healing output in a close area, and she can build up that ultimate fast, which goes through the shields. It heals and does damage. Why bring the Ana into the equation? There's nobody spread out, not really a great use of the biotic grenades with D.Va and a Reinhardt in play. So it's very difficult to get any type of value out of her, and she's an easy dive target.
And Moira, of course, is not, because her Fade is going to allow her to get out of scrutiny and get out of trouble really quickly. She can reposition in a pinch and can still heal herself up quite fast with that biotic orb, which she's getting a lot of value out of, providing it's not being eaten by enemy divas. That is sort of one reason why you may not see much Ana, because Defense Matrix shuts down all of those darts, and depending where you're set up, you are easy to leap upon. But the Houston Outlaws, Matt, no changes. Much the same here. Meko on the D.Va, and they will be going with the Doomfist Reaper. They want to play in these chokes.
You also wouldn't even have a good, a great, what are you going to nano boost? It's either going to be like Rhine or Reaper. It's not like you're playing like a Genji, right? You have like a potential to like Nano Blade, whatnot. So you don't see a ton of Ana. See what the Paris Eternal decided to do. It looks like.
Okay, maybe just an Ana nade here from Gray.
Ana from Gray.
Yeah, he's the king of nerdy grenades out of spawn on so many of these maps.
Gotcha. So we'll see if he decides to stay on it. They have the Sombra in play from Nico, although he just translocates. And then, yep, now we're going to switch. It's the same thing that Paris has really been running the entire time. Just replace Sigma and D.Va on certain maps. Seems like the maps with the verticality, they want to go towards D.Va. Try and access the high ground. At least on Nepal, they wanted to go with the Sigma.
Nico making his way up. Gray is more of a sniper player normally. Widow and Ana, two of his best picks, so is the Sombra, but again, this setup and these compositions call for the Moira. Okay, so Paris cover a lot of ground without taking a lot of damage because they break line of sight for much of it. Get up on the high ground and drop at the closest point possible to Houston, and then they start to leverage the pressure of this Doomfist. Boomer, standing in this stairway, I feel like the Outlaws are so vulnerable to Nico. It doesn't matter where he goes from, he gets a rocket punch and the wall is right there. Even the Reinhardt can be knocked back, even though his passive makes that harder. They're actually changing that, so it becomes a little bit easier potentially to knock him back further. It's got to be a coalescence now from the Outlaws. Moomer going to be definitely benefiting from this as he wants to fight in the front line with a bit of extra healing. Jexa also is deep in enemy territory. Moomer had a chance for Shatter, no longer. He is taken down, and even with coalescence in play, Matt, the healing for Houston is not enough.
Yeah, I mean, you lose your Doomfist at the beginning for the Outlaws, so you lose the threat of the one-shot potential, the combos coming in. And just the pressure that Doom applies is what would have gotten them out of that choke, right? Like, if you had Blasé live and you come from the high ground, like a Psychic Slam from behind on the point, that allows your team to speed boost and go out of that choke. But the issue is Nico just kept loading up those rocket punches coming in over and over and over again. You weren't able to get any type of pressure out of the door.
Oh, Defense Matrix being tested to its limits here by Meko to prevent Soon from shredding the Outlaws. And it works out. Can they do something about this, though? Seismic Slam. Going to be a Meteor Strike in by Nico, and no, he gets there. Oh, does he get there? Follow up on Raucus. Just an uppercut to send him packing. A kiss goodbye a la France. And now 4 minutes 15. A lot of time for Paris, and they get through the nasty early choke here on this second stage, the Westworld part of the map.
Yeah, as the Outlaws are not able to play close, see what they decide to do in this next fight. Do you let the fight come to you and use a sound barrier? Do you want to be aggressive? Looks like they want to go pretty fast as they want to go inside the saloon and wrap around.
Hey, Lucio's back this week and these teams are making use of it. Blasé, though, gets caught. Hanbin was ready for the 1v1. D.Va can pretty much 1v1 basically anyone in the game. However, once Hanbin returns to the fight, Meko and Moom are able to lay waste, essentially, the front line of the Paris Eternal. Nicely done. And again, when you have Lucio, when you're defending at a disadvantage, you want to regain position sometimes. Trying to take the enemy team by surprise with a burst of speed goes a long way.
And with how death volley both of these comps are, when you lose a damage dealer early and the other team can just speed into you, it's so devastating. It's impossible because then you're just speeding backwards. Your Reinhardt's forced to just kind of hold his shield and jump backwards and try and stay alive. You end up losing another player rather quickly, as these first pickoffs in a lot of these fights determine the outcome.
Benbest moves up. Okay, Dante not in position there. He can't get into the back line. He'll have to retreat for the moment, but here he comes. He wanted to get involved in that fight from the very start. Muma gets a charge, though, in towards Benbest, who's still able to get away. Coalescence gets brought into the fight here by Gray, but the Outlaws have a great position. Now the Eternal have to walk through this very small gap. They committed both their support ults now. So the Eternal at a disadvantage just based on where they're standing. Double down with support ultimates. They need to find these kills though. The Outlaws are still fighting at 6 players strong, but it's a perfect mutual charge there. And the knockdown from Benbest, not only stopping the Doomfist damage, but knocking him to the ground. He's much more vulnerable than Reinhardt in that position. Muma can't even get out the door. Great positioning by Hanbin on the balcony just to get the micro rockets on the Reinhardt. Get him low as he tried to push out. And Paris, they breathe a sigh of relief. Gray gets another Coalescence, by the way. No big deal. 2-in-1 fight, getting so much healing. But Paris, they took a risk by using both support ultimates, with 3 technically, Matt.
Yes.
But it pays off.
The Outlaws will have one last stand here, though, before the checkpoint B will come up. They'll have a sound barrier for it. Self-destruct as well, and you lose Dante early. That is massive, though. That's a lot of damage.
Soon steps up once more. Meko is on the ball with the defense matrix, but it's not enough to save Jexa. It doesn't outlast the whole Death Blossom animation. Benbest looking to protect his team, shepherds them with the shield as the self-destruct only claims Hanbin's mech. And now Nico can step up. Benbest actually wants to use a shatter there. He's afraid of Dante and Meko stalling, and they can't now. 3 minutes on the clock for Paris.
And now you're going to get a kill onto both of those players. And look at this, they're going to charge in quick. They want to get some of these players coming off the spawn, get some cart progress.
Oh, that was smart. Benbest, Matt, charged and then moved to the left, so he'd be standing on the Mega Health Pack once it respawned. He went down to about 80 HP and then got straight back up. That helped him win the 1v1. He didn't want to die there against Muma, even with the backup of his teammates.
And now with waiting for these players, how many fights do you get here if you're the Outlaws? You may just get one really scrappy one.
Or none.
Soon just takes out Raucus, just running a straight line down a hallway.
Raucus is getting 1 Coalescence per minute. With him out of the fight, that's a ton of healing that's just straight up off the table. Sound barrier for Paris, they're going in. Gray should have a Coalescence by the time this expires if he can stay alive, and it all looks good for Paris now. Starting to fall apart for Houston. They take a fight close on this corner, try and make use of the map, but without Raucus, they had no chance.
I mean, you lose Raucus, who's got that Coalescence. It's not going to be a fight win. As soon get some information, all these players heading towards that high ground.
Gray sits back. He has the Coalescence here. His angle's pretty good for it too. He can sort of stay safe. Blaze's trying to challenge him though. Gray is going to heal himself up by using the Coalescence, and well, Blaze couldn't find an insta-kill but charged him against the wall. So the healing remains in the fight, and Nico turns his attention instead to Dante. He goes after the damage dealers. Soon does get shattered in the middle of his Death Blossom, but he already finds Jexa. He already did the damage. Raucus now has to fade to even touch the point, and he goes down instantly. Meko, for a brief instant, tried the defense matrix to keep him up, but no. Dante knocked away as he tried to use the Death Blossom on the point. He'll come out, but Hanbin found 2, and nothing the Outlaws could do. They couldn't shelter themselves from the blast because they had to be out in the hot sun fighting to keep the Eternal back, and they can't. A minute 23, Paris finish with a healthy time bank.
And it's a lot of those first pickoffs in the fights, whether it be from Nico or Soon. This half, it was really more of Soon on the Reaper, who was able to get some really timely first pickoffs in these fights, would end up turning the tides. Do the Outlaws go back to playing Sombra here? Do they try the Sombra pick? Paris, this is a Torbjorn opportunity as well. Torb is pretty strong here on this point A defense, although we haven't seen them really go for it.
Matt, I mean, you talk about Soon and Nico, both of them have, you know, I mean, Nico has 12 final blows, Soon has 11. Between Blaze and Dante, 3 final blows. The damage dealers from Paris have been all over this, like moss on a rock, baby, and the Outlaws have struggled to get their key pieces in action. I mean, they're constantly, you know, backpedaling through so many of these fights. Lucio now back in the mix. I mean, you think teams would be ready for it, as having played so much in the past, but the Eternal, they do not let up. The pace of game that they're bringing to Houston makes it really hard for Blaze and Dante to get into the back line at all. FD God also is controlling space, so effectively, by making sure that Soon by Blaze and Dante, should I say, cannot get to the back line, booping him away, preventing him from doing their work.
Yes, it has been a team effort today from Paris as they looked quite good with the Doom Reaper setup. So we'll see the Outlaws on offense. Doom Reaper for them as well. Not going to mess around with the Sombra just yet.
The Outlaws have to shake it off, Matt, especially the damage dealers. They know they've not been getting kills. So no one has to tell them that. And it's going to be bothering them a lot. Especially, you know, in so many of these matchups, you're blasé, you're going to get up against Nico. You're thinking you're going to win that in the Doom 1v1. You know, like that's kind of your wheelhouse. And so far, you're getting put to shame. Again, classic from FD God. He was looking to descend from a roof to boot everyone forward, but the Outlaws slipped into the side room. I don't think they want to be here, though. Nico might be painting the walls red in just a moment. Blase can't get away, but it's FD God finding the kills. Boomer charges into his demise, and halfway through that, the Outlaws realized they had made a terrible mistake, and they want the fight to be over as quickly as possible. But do you think Paris are going to be merciful? No way!
Poor Meko.
Yeah.
Run, Meko. And there's nowhere for him to jump off the side on this map as well. It's a brutal map.
Just
get staggered on.
And FD God just hit the crossfade and went for a speed boost forward. It looked like Paris were wanting to jump on the Outlaws, who were missing a player briefly after Meko went down. They didn't, fortunately, but man, they're really trying to play aggressive today.
Look, that stall buys them, what, 15 seconds, right? It doesn't seem like a ton of time, but in the scheme of the game, it actually is. This will be a coalescence and aggression from Paris. They lose Nico straight away.
Great response by Meko, but that's a big shatter. It is gigantic. 4 players from the Houston Outlaws are knocked down, and both their damage dealers, Best sends them packing. A little bit of an oof at the start of the fight because, you know, Meko just lines up Nico and runs him down. What a way to save a player disadvantaged by Ben Best, and he's starting to show shatters that we saw from Moomer in map 1.
Yeah, I mean, that was the difference in map 1. Mooma's shatters really turned the tides in a lot of those fights. Allowed the Outlaws to save onto some ultimates. Even in map 2, he had some pretty big shatters, but Ben Best answering with one there. Mooma's got a shatter of his own. They just want to try and draw them to the point.
Soon, though, no one's looking at him right now. He doesn't actually have to try and, you know, use range walk to get forward at all. Self-destruct, get ready for this one. Soon goes for a Death Blossom, maybe defensively there, as Ben Best had to keep his shield up to protect his team from the blast. Dante finally gets into the back, and he gets what he was looking for. Hanbin and Soon with a cherry on top, and the assassination plan finally comes to fruition for Houston.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they were trying to do there, Paris, with the self-destruct plus Death Blossom combo. Like, are you trying to potentially protect Ben Best in that situation from getting shattered, like having to put his shield down? Or are you trying to force players from the self-destruct, like, into the line of sight of the Death Blossom? Just an odd combo, but look at this. Nico gets a pick on a Dante, so now Paris can play so close. And this is going to get them a ton of time, Mitch.
Nico's in the cafe, caught him out. Blase now, I mean, what do you do with this? How do you make a play? No, he just uses it to try and get a bird's eye view for a moment. Drops onto the building, but again, the Divas doing a great job of shutting down these Reapers and Doomfists. Gray's gonna get rid of Dante. He was shattered on the cart there, and Ben Best wants to keep the pressure up. Has to be careful. Moomer goes for a shatter, but looks like Ben Best was ready for it. He turns
they sound barrier
like he was looking to the back line.
I mean, they use sound barrier. This is a very, like, lost fight at this point, but it does force the Outlaws to use the coalescence. So you will get a good hold here. You're gonna burn some clock. The card will start to move now for Houston. But Paris, you'll come back, you'll have a self-destruct, potentially you'll have a Death Blossom. How many picks early has Soon gotten here on Reaper? I feel like every fight, it's either him or Nico opening it up with a pick-off on one of these Houston Outlaws damage dealers.
But how much easier is it now, Matt, for Hanbin to control the high ground without, you know, the Doomfist being there?
Oh, there he goes.
Moomer, huge charge. I mean, he doesn't actually find a kill from it in the end, but straight across the rooftop
it looks
goes,
cool.
Like an episode of Attack on Titan. Doesn't work out. Heimer going to sit in the back. It's going to be a Death Blossom here again. Defense Matrix deployed to mitigate that damage, and Moomer has to take 5 in the cafe. Couldn't ask for a better place for it, really. And now he'll step forward again. Shield down to half. Needs to be careful. Got stunned, knocked up for a moment. Self-destruct comes in. He was pinned. Good setup for Ben Best. No one goes down to the self-destruct, but Moomer had to shield up, and it was an easy target for Ben to squish.
And this time is massive for Paris in the overall scope of the game. To remind you, they finished the map with 1:23 on the clock. Even if the Outlaws use all of their ultimates and break this, they're going to have a worse time going from point B to point C. And there's no guarantee they even get there with the way that Paris is playing. Paris in a phenomenal spot to take the map.
Nico to the high ground there again. Much like Blase did previously. The Shadow looked good. Harmbin and Grey at least were knocked to the ground, but there's no follow-up. At a crucial point in the fight, Houston get a key ultimate from Moomer as he has been doing, but no one is there to get rid of those down targets. Grey now gets the coalescence again. There's been so many of these in this round, but the timing is good. FD God trying to stay alive, and Grey does fall to Dante Death Blossom, but you need more from that, especially when you just lost your main tank. Benbest went for the Shatter, and it looked good. Meko completely dominated out of his mech, and that allowed Raucus and Blase to be taken down pretty comfortably. The self-destruct in from Harmbin was set up well by the Shatter, and now there's a minute left.
And now what you do with your Paris, is you try and get a Death Blossom in, force out whether it be Coalescence or Sound Barrier. You lose that fight quick, you come back, you have a beat of your own, and you're in a spot to hold them before they even get checkpoint B.
Soon, not exactly subtle about the fact that he's just casing the joint right now. Looking for a chance to jump on in. Coalescence will force Paris back. Not entirely. Here's the Death Blossom. No! What? No! Muma catches him. I don't know how. I thought he was maybe charging back to the rest of his team, but I don't think he'll ever admit it. Still, Charge was there, didn't get the kill. Sound Barrier was there for Paris, Matt. They managed to keep Soon alive as he got charged back. Another Shatter attempt for Muma just goes by the wayside. Doesn't look good at all, and another 1-5 for Paris, and the series now is looking like it's going straight over to them.
It'll be a Coalescence from Grey as they push back into the spawn of the Outlaws. Can the Outlaws even get a touch? It looks like just Dante gets to the cart. Meko trying to get there, but the Paris Eternal putting together a fantastic hold.
Jexa, he tried. The rest of the Houston Outlaws move up. They got no ultimates to really try and create a player advantage of any kind. Meteor Strike was just to stall out or keep Blase alive a little bit longer. Still in overtime. Meko trying to step up there, looking like a bit of a sad story to try and keep the payload stalled out, but he goes as well. Already Jexa has made his way back, but he's getting a slurping from the backside, and Matthew Reginald Morello, I can't believe what I've just seen. The Paris Eternal looked filthy on this map.
But
that is your middle name. I'm pretty sure that's your middle name.
No, definitely not. But
guys,
the only true statement in that whole thing was that the Paris Eternal looked great on that map and in the series. Big difference for me on this map in particular was just the early pickoffs we saw Soon get time and time again, especially in a composition that wants to just deathball and barrel into the opponents. Getting rid of a Reaper, getting rid of a Doomfist, getting rid of a Moira early on is a massive advantage when you want to get into that brawly playstyle.
Paris loved this map. They love, I think the hero pool right now suits them so well. Allows them to leverage FD God shot calling, his aggression. With Benbest, playing Ryan again, doesn't have to play Orisa. That means that they can be much more mobile. They can start these fights, and the Outlaws just straight up weren't ready for that kind of level of aggression, Matt.
Yeah, I think I would have hoped to see something better from the Outlaws today.
Sure.
I think a lot of fans probably were of the Houston Outlaws. There were a few fights, though, that could have gone their way, just some poor timings with, like, EMPs and whatnot. I wouldn't necessarily say it was, like, a really poor performance. I think they just got caught out a few times. They had some ultimates that didn't go their way, but I thought Muma was fantastic today.
He looked excellent. First couple maps, definitely more so.
Yes,
he definitely looked like
better,
the Paris started to tune in a little bit, and they decided to pressure him down, not letting him go for those shatters. Maybe also Benbest just respecting it. I think Benbest, did get some big Reinhardt plays, but more so on Hollywood. He wasn't really trying to open up fights with Shatter, sort of earlier on in the series. But the fact that Moomin was able to do it, against two shields was huge. But for me, when we talk about our player of the match, Matt, I think it's pretty hard not to list Nico in that role. It's not that he doesn't play Doomfist, right? We just hadn't seen a ton of it from him. I mean, if you go back last year, Paris just weren't really playing it at all. Doomfist was really a niche pick until the playoffs, to be honest, and that's when everyone was sort of bringing it out. So we didn't get to see it. It definitely wasn't getting played during GOATs, but Nico looks like his pool of those projectile-based DPS especially is looking very, very good.
And he really kind of saved them on Dorado, right? Picking up that 2K before. I mean, he didn't really, he saved them from giving up 0.8, but they end up holding the whole map because of it, right? He gets those two crucial pickoffs before they're able to take that first checkpoint with the cart. And Houston never recovered after that. And I think his Doomfist today in combination with Soon's Reaper was the biggest difference maker.
Yeah. The damage dealers, on Hollywood, I pointed it out, they had 22 final blows. And then, you know, the Houston guys had 3 between the two of them. So that was pretty one-sided. And next match coming up, it's another bit of a salty run back, another bit of a revenge opportunity. The Washington Justice suffered defeat at the hands of Philly in front of their home crowd at the Battle of Brotherly Love quite a few weeks ago. They have a chance to not only keep the wins on the board after yesterday, but also to get the revenge against the Fusion. Well, stick around, ladies and gentlemen, because that match is going to be exciting and is right around the corner. We'll be back after the break. Myself and Matty Reggie, we'll see you then.